The Dig. This is probably one of the most monumental, I think, of all of LucasArts games. I mean, the sheer link of talent that was put to this. Now, this was released in 1995. It was the last Scum game, script creation utility for Maniac Mansion that was done on MS-DOS, or to work with MS-DOS. After that, everything was pretty much all Windows. Now, this was also inspired by an idea for a show called Amazing Stories. This was something produced by Steven Spielberg, would air weekly, I think on NBC. It was a bit of variety in its stories. And unlike most of LucasArts games that had some humor to it, or had a lot of humor in them, this one, pardon, this one was very serious. And it also had a very talented voice cast. I mean, amongst the voice cast was Robert Patrick, who big thing he was known for at that time was being the T-1000, and Steve Bloom, who's been doing animation voiceovers for years now. Now, in this game, you play as Boston Lowe. This is the one who's voiced by Robert Patrick. And the game opens with the notification that an asteroid or a meteor is on a collision course with Earth. I mean, impact is right now 1-to-1, dead on. And so, a team has been assembled. Various scientists and people with great, very select skill sets. Their mission is this: one, make sure this asteroid named Attila, or this meteor or asteroid named Attila, does not impact Earth. And in the course of setting charges that will either cause it to be destroyed or deflected from Earth, probably deflected, they discover that the asteroid is hollow. So, the three of the team, that's Lowe, Brink, and Maggie. I think she's the only one we know by her first name. Or, they refer to from the by her first name. Brink is a German scientist who is also skilled in archaeology. And Maggie is very skilled as well as a reporter, but she's also skilled as a linguistics expert. Well, as they go in and explore this new interior, which is too straight-laced geometric to be considered natural, they activate something that sends them far away, like to another world far away. So now they must work to, quote, find a way off this world. Of course, this also means figuring out where they are, and determining various things. Now, first off, they come across some sort of spirit entity that seems to be guiding them to certain things. And so, you have to solve these puzzles. Now, this is a standard with LucasArts games. They are more thinkers than action in a lot of cases, especially with the old Scum engine. And of course, as you find you find all sorts of things that help you locate things. And you eventually find a way to a lower level. Unfortunately, as Brink is the archaeologist, he takes charge of that, their first digging, and the soil is so loose that it falls and he falls and the fall kills him. This is terrible. This is a blow to Low because it's his job to keep everyone safe as the commander of the mission. Now he and Maggie start exploring separately. We find out that where they have entered is a hub of some sorts for a tram system. So each one takes them to a different one of 5 spires. And each of the 5 spires hint at has some sort of purpose. One's like a museum, where we can find proof that there was some sort of intelligent life here. One apparently has a map in it. One has what looks like a planetarium. And sort of it controls certain things even in this area. One is a crypt. So now we have to use what we can find and deduce to advance. I mean, amongst this, we find certain, quote, light bridges. We also find a power source to power things up. We find also life crystals. These crystals contain some sort of reviving thing. It's like if it pours on something, no matter how degraded it is, it brings it back to life. In fact, Low uses one of them to bring Brink back to life. But it has had an effect on him. He is obsessed with these life crystals now. Even though a spirit gives them a warning about them. But these life crystals are helpful in solving some of the puzzles. There's this great beast that you have to get past to get into a cave that's underwater. And so what you have to do is you have to assemble the skeleton of creature. Bring the creature back to life, but make sure it has sort of a little bit of something explosive in it. It's considered one of the harder puzzles out there in games. You have to retrieve a power crystal by learning the controls of a system and fumbling with them to get it to work so you can get this crystal. you find doors that the keys are all around you, at least to put the right code in. And as you solve all these puzzles, some are really, really out there in some ways. I mean, for one, you have to catch a rodent, but you have to figure out how to trap it. It took me a while to get all those together if you look at the video. But eventually, as you solve puzzles and get the light bridges working and all that, you were able to find your way into a crypt where one of these creatures is, quote, dead. Of course, now when Lo first, revives them, he can't understand what they're saying. But this is where Maggie comes in, very handy. She's been studying the language and she's getting the gist of it. So she can communicate with the thing. Unfortunately, at this time, she gets attacked by a creature. So it takes a little bit of finagling. I mean, first off, you've got to get Brink to help you, but he's so obsessed with his own thing and getting more of these crystals that he doesn't agree to help unless you literally force him to. And then you find out that these, of course, you guys have to work together to save Maggie by sending this creature off onto a watery grave or something. Then you all get out of there. You and Maggie go. Brink goes back to whatever he was doing. You and Maggie head off and talk to this thing. And with that, you learn a lot more. You get everything you need, and you find the drive, or the thing that will power things up. You see, the creature's people were so fascinated by some of his inventions, and they thought they could now transcend. The only problem is that they couldn't remember the way back. Of course, the creator of these inventions remained behind to warn people and maybe, who knows, find someone who can help them get back. Well, but in order to power the thing up, you need some of those life crystals. And of course, this is the problem. Brink has become so obsessed with them that even if he gets caught in something, he's just gone off the deep end. He's dependent on those life crystals. He's obsessed with them. He's addicted to them. That he's not even willing to let two go. Even though they need them to work this thing. It leads to a confrontation in which eventually Brink dies. And so Lo and Maggie have to power up the device. They are both fully aware that it's going to cost someone their life. Could cost someone their life. Maggie takes that risk. She makes Lo promise not to use one of those crystals on her. And this is a point where you can actually change the outcome of the game, because you can choose to use it, use one on her or not. I didn't. If you do, apparently she will then kill herself because Lowe broke his word to her. I mean, he broke his word to Brink many a time. However, given how Brink was, obsessed with the crystals and all that, I completely understand. The man was off the deep end. And Lowell goes to this thing that's at the center of the spires between all the light bridges. Of course, there's something in there. So he has to outwit this creature. It's very easy. And then he goes into this crystal structure, He finds this thing that the others went to, the other beings, and he goes in there. Turns out that his own action, and also his wanting to get home, is enough for the other beings to use it as an anchor to get back to where they were from. Now, as thanks, they will help him get home. They also rescue the other two. Like moments before their death, or something like that. But they have their memories of what has been happening on here. Brink looks a lot older now than when he did when he started. I mean, if you're paying attention throughout the game, you notice that there's something changing about him. Maggie is saved. She even thanks Lowell for keeping his word. And Brink also forgives him because he saw what he had become. And they return home, sort of with Lowe acting as the ambassador for these beings to Earth. This game is beautiful. While it's more somber than any of LucasArts' other productions, it is beautifully done. Music's great. Some of the script writing done by Orson Scott Card of Ender, the creator of the Ender series. I mean, this was an idea inspired for Steven Spielberg's amazing stories. And it was such a fantastic thing that LucasArts went all out. They commissioned a novelization to be done by Alan Dean Foster, who was very prolific, who is, I think he's still around, so at least at the time of this recording, he was a very prolific writer, has written many science fiction items and novelizations, including the first 3 Alien movies. He wrote a novelization for the movie The Black Hole. So he's well known in science fiction circles. And I'm going to admit, The Dig doesn't make you think it's a science fiction story. Unless you can take a real good look at the cover photo. I remember even seeing soundtracks for this out in stores. I think I saw that. I could be wrong. But with a marketing campaign like that and the talent they had behind it and working on it, it's amazing. This is a game you have to experience. It's beautiful. The transition scenes. This is also, an early Industrial Light and Magic worked on this. it gives the awe of encountering or finding what appears to be a long gone civilization in space. Trying to show humanity at its best, but you also see it at its worst in this. I mean, we see how dangerous an addiction can pull at someone, especially in such a situation. You see the conflicts of someone in command who must either keep his word or go back on it, feeling what is trying to figure out which one is better for the situation. You see someone who is trying to understand, I mean, and the conflict of trying to get back home, but at the same time, you must learn about where you are just in case you're going to be there a while. It's brilliant. And it's a game to experience. If you can, you find a copy of the book, you could read that. I even hear there's an audio version. But this is one of those games I think you really must experience. And that's what I'm going to say about the Dig. I hope you enjoyed me talking about it, and I do wish you check it out for yourself. Bye all.